Welcome to Hack Your Metrics, where we share honest advice on what works and what does not in marketing. Today, I am joined by someone who has been a big part of my journey, my dear friend Alex Porter. Alex, say hi.
Hey, how are ya? Thanks for having me.
Nice, sweet. Alex, you and I have a complicated
Oh.
relationship. For
In a
for
good
our
way, in a good
listeners,
way.
for in a good way, in a good way. So for our listeners, I would say you're like my first official American boss. I still remember the days I just graduated from graduate school and walk in the office with my suit, and you and Jared was with your shorts and visiting me in the interview room. And also probably my longest friend. I think I know you since I was a student still in Denver.
Yeah, we should tell
At the
that. We
same
should tell
time,
that. We should tell that story, right? Well, let me tell you the story I remember, and you can fill in the missing gaps.
sure.
But this was, I don't,
Okay.
geez, what even year was this? Like 2000 and something? I can't even remember.
2009,
2009.
2009.
I reached out to the
Mm-hmm,
dean of the statistics department at DU because I was looking for help putting
mm-hmm.
together an attribution model, which, hey, we're still trying to figure that out 15 years later. And he, let me get this straight though. He recommended you for like a project. Like I was looking for a project and you did the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
project. And then I was like, wow, that was amazing. Do you want a job? That's how I remember it. Is it something like that or is it a little bit
Yeah, I
different?
think I think I think you were saying like, wow, that must be the smartest person I've ever met. Yeah, it was. I think it was like a statistician project that I worked on, and then I talked to Jared. You know how crazy he gets
Right.
when we talk about like algorithm and stuff, and the next thing it's like many years later, and here we are. But at the same time, I'm a regular visitors of your boys in the all sports day.
Yep.
Been to your bachelor's
That's
party,
right.
so
That's right.
I consider you a great friend. And but honestly, I think people don't know this, but I think I'm here actually because of you. You're the reason actually I was able to stay here because you supported, sponsor for my green card, and so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much,
Of
Alex,
course.
for that.
It's been an honor. It was a great decision.
So, sweet, thank you so much. So let's dive into it.
Yeah.
You're the CEO for Location 3 for a long time. I think as long as I know you, you have always been the CEO. Can you give everybody a quick kind of a pitch on
Sure.
what L3 does, especially in the space of franchise?
Absolutely. So we have been around for over 25 years and we've kind of been every iteration of a digital marketing agency. But about 10 years ago, we really decided to focus on the franchise space. So franchises are companies that have a centralized kind of command and control center, and then they have standard operating procedures and kind of the secret sauce of how they make cookies or educate children or take care of seniors. And then individual franchisees buy into that. And they get a turnkey business, but they're still business owners. So it's a really great opportunity for people to own their own businesses. And a lot of people that get into franchises are
Mhm,
people that maybe had a corporate job and want to do something else, or there's a variety of reasons. But what we saw was a big opportunity because essentially we were working with SMBs, small and medium sized businesses underneath
mhm,
this
mhm,
umbrella of this bigger corporate entity. So it allowed us some
mhm,
economies of scale. But it really fit into our focus on localized marketing. So we've been, the name Location 3 was a happy accident, really, because our founder, Andrew Beckman, he coined the term because he said, hey, it's really going to be important on where you're found on the internet, just like in real estate. So it's
mhm,
location, location, location. So that's how we got the
mhm,
name at
mhm,
Location 3. And today
mhm,
it's even more, applicable than it ever has been. And so our goal as a company is to manage and optimize thousands and thousands of local marketing campaigns for a wide variety of franchise verticals and to drive customers.
mhm,
At the end of the day, what we do is we drive revenue and
mhm.
customers for our franchisees. We've built our
So it sounds like you sit in this like you're the layer help facilitate between national as well as many Z's at the same time and be able to scale on a very holistic way at the same time.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
So Porter, can you maybe just let's just dive into like what do you think is I think I kind of the viewer can see and we all experience some franchising of this national brand and then individual Z owns this as well. And what would you say is like the top pain
Mm.
points the franchise business nowadays are dealing with?
Geez, I think the top pain point is just how fast the digital marketing industry changes and how hard it is for franchisees to A, keep up with it and B, understand it. Just in the last 3 months, we've seen this explosion of AI overviews in search. And of course, everybody wants to know what is it doing to our campaigns and how do we get there? And there's just a lot of confusion. I mean, I think to answer that question very specifically, it's education. The biggest pain point for franchisees is understanding marketing. I mean, we still have so many conversations around what is a listing versus an organic versus a paid. I mean,
Mhm.
even the fundamental pieces of that puzzle are confusing to someone that's not a marketer. And sometimes we got to step back and remember, hey, these folks aren't digital marketers. Maybe they were a finance person and they started this franchise and they don't know anything
Mhm.
about marketing. So the educational piece
Mhm.
is something that is an ongoing initiative for us to help. Because once you understand it, once it's something that you're not, when you don't understand something, you can either get, mad at it or scared about it or anxiety over it, right? So if
Mhm.
we do
Mhm.
our job and say, hey, this is how this digital ecosystem works, and here's how we're winning at it with you, right? I try to I do a lot of sports
Mhm.
analogies, so I'm always talking about how are we winning this digital marketing game.
Yeah, so can we maybe actually break down some main players that you guys are actually play like that out on the board right now?
So Google obviously is the biggest one that we work with. And it's beyond kind of
Mhm.
just paid search, but their entire Google marketing platform. So whether that's YouTube or
Right.
Gmail ads or programmatic, whatever the
Mhm.
case might be, right? Now we have this AI
Mhm.
overview. Eventually there's going to be paid ads in that AI overview. I mean, it has to happen. So we have to figure out how to
Right,
make sure
exactly.
that.
Right.
And then the second biggest one is
Mhm.
Meta, which is inclusive of
Mhm.
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Between the two of
Right, right.
those, that's probably, 90% of all of our franchisees are spending in those two areas. Beyond that, we're
Right.
gonna recommend you run on the Microsoft Ad Network. And then beyond that, you're not gonna typically get an individual franchisee going much deeper than that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
What we
Do you still touch any of these other more like a local channel like Yelp and some of those like a re reputation based one as well?
Not from a paid standpoint. We still do manage their local data across those platforms, but it's
Gotcha,
very
gotcha.
rare. But what we will do is if a number of locations come together and kind of pool their funds, that's when we might do like a digital
Hmm.
out of home or a next door or
Gotcha.
Reddit or connected
Hmm.
TV
Hmm.
or digital audio. So
Hmm. Hmm.
those need to be more on a regional DMA level just to get some spend that'll make it worthwhile to do that. So, I mean,
So
there's
you sort of buffered it with a little bit of awareness and media coverage to enhance it a bit.
exactly. And then we're always going to be trying to coordinate with what's going on with the national ad spend, right? So,
Hmm. Hmm.
sometimes we manage it. Sometimes we're just informed of it. But let's say they're going to do a big linear buy in a certain area promoting a product. We want to make sure that we're paying that off at the local level too. So there's a lot of coordination that goes on
Hmm.
between and the bigger the brand, the more locations they have, the more complicated it gets, right?
Hmm.
So some of our clients have
Hmm.
5,000 locations and those get broken up into 20 different regions. And each one of those regions really operates as their own entity. So you've got a national, you've
Hmm.
got a
Hmm.
regional and a local. So how do all those pieces work in harmony to produce, really strong results?
Alex, can you talk a bit about, and this might be really complicated, but maybe just share with us, and you can also offer maybe your honest advice as well. Like, I know, I know, like this idea of national there's a lot of branding for a franchise system,
Sure.
right? There's branding, standard formatting, and the way they do things, and there's this localized needs, right? There's local signal that's different, and they need to move faster, as you said at the beginning. How do you play in resolving that tension, and how do you help them? What do you guys do, and what are some of the things that actually are very critical?
Okay. Let me try to rephrase that question too. So the question is, how do we actually harmonize between like a big national campaign and the local one? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I can give you an
sure.
example, the one that I currently work on, and it's a service awareness franchise brand, and their brand is without exposure to name. Their brand is very strict about branding. They have certain things needs to be there, but we actually find the most effective ads for them is these authentic ads where it's very low quality in production, but actually very relevant
Hmm.
in the sense that you actually are telling the user what they're experiencing and no flashing at all.
Okay.
And so you got into this conflict where do you pick an ad that performed well or do you pick an ad that makes the corporate
Ah,
happy? And that's the kind of tension I'm
oh,
talking
I
about.
see what you're saying. Well, I will say if it's the franchisees spending their own money, then it's the ad that'll drive the result for the franchisee, right? If it's something that the corporate
Yeah.
is either funding or partially funding, then you definitely have to take the strategic direction from. So it really comes, the easiest answer is it comes down to who's paying for it, right? So like if the franchisees are given the
Hmm.
opportunity with us to, do incremental, they still have to stay within some guardrails, right? They have to be within the territory.
Right.
They have to use the brand
Hmm.
guidelines and things like that. But if somebody says, I
Right.
think one of the classic examples that we keep hearing about is like, Subway comes out and says, hey, we're going to do $5 footlongs or whatever. And the
Hmm.
franchisee
Hmm.
is like, no, I'm going to lose too much money on that. Now that's not so much a marketing campaign as like an actual operational thing, but like that's a lot where
Hmm.
that tension comes in and the franchisees like, can they opt in and opt out of those kind of things, right? Like, I don't want to do this promo. I don't want to do this messaging.
Yeah.
And, and it's a weird situation because right? A franchisee is not an employee of the franchisor, right? That is the
Hmm.
fundamental underpinning of the franchisor franchisee relationship. Because if they were, they wouldn't be business owners. They wouldn't be creating equity in their company. They wouldn't, right? So
Right.
there has to be some lines that are not dictated, right? Like you can't say, you could
Hmm.
probably say, hey, you have to use this turkey, right? But they probably can't say you have to sell it for $1 or something like that. Like there's some level of flexibility
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I see a lot of these conflict. It makes it actually really. So I have a classic case. Just chip in there as well. So like this client, we have a promotion for first basically visit free, and people are abusing
Oh, really?
it. People are like, hell yeah, let's schedule our wellness retreat. And this
Oh,
franchise was
geez.
like
Yikes.
literally screaming for help, like we were like we have to make this harder for folks to get qualified, right? And that's something that was like really hard to get approved because they have to get promotion across nation that's standardized. That was not
Interesting.
cannot be customized somehow. Yeah, so it was these kind of I think that all these examples, it seems like as a marketer, we could play some role to help them and optimize a lot of things in a more harmonized way, like
Yeah.
especially
To your
or
point, we're kind of that bridge.
awareness
Yeah.
from nation. Yeah, because we have the data visibility and also we can tell them the impact.
Right, right. Yeah, it's
For
somewhat of
those,
it's a weird situation, right? You're kind of caught between, especially, and then it comes down to a lot of like who's paying us, right? Sometimes we
mhm,
get paid by both parties and then we're really kind of a little bit stuck in the middle. But, if we're paid exclusively by the
yeah,
franchisee, that's going to make us more prone to supporting them wholeheartedly and maybe putting on just the franchisee colored glasses where if we're more in the middle,
hmm, hmm,
um, kind of look at it from both sides and understand both perspectives and help kind of bridge that gap. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think flexibility is probably the key here if
Yeah.
there's some room in there, right? Speaking of that, I want to maybe toss another one at you. I know you guys are manage your team is managing at times thousands and thousands of these, right? And like campaign structure requests, and then you're also literally dealing with thousands of small business owners, with a budget of, I don't know, sub 2 grand or something like that. And like, how are you guys able to do massive change effectively? And like, what is managing like that look like for you, like these days?
Let me try to say that again. Just what?
Yeah, so like I want to understand like how do you guys achieve like efficiency, with like all the Z's you have on board, and like how do you like ensure that you actually are able to get the maximum effects out of all of the budget
Right.
around
Okay.
like
I
the
got you. Right.
locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. It's not funny, but like one of the hardest things to do is just spend the money, right? So think if you've got 5,000 locations all looking to spend $500 to spend that exactly
Mm-hmm.
right is challenge number one. Because, go from a 28-day month to a 31-day month, and that changes everything. And so we've transitioned just in the past few months to a new tool. The tool's called Fluency that has been really a game changer for us to be able to spend the budgets effectively because none of the franchisees don't want to go dark. Hey, we spent all your money in the first half of the month and now you're offline for
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the month. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
so
Mm-hmm.
just effectively spending the budget through technology. And then, like everything else, it's the use of AI and the tools that are out there. So whether it's a combination of really
Mm-hmm.
the platform's tools. So whether that's a Google target ROAS, bidding methodology. Oops, I
Mm-hmm.
said Google and my Google device just started talking to me. Hey, Google, stop.
Uh,
Um, and so, and then so that really that plus Fluency plus we leverage our Copilot and Power BI tools a lot. So it's kind of those three
mm-hmm.
things working in harmony with obviously some super smart people, setting that strategy. A new client comes to us typically because they are either not doing well or they want to do better, right? And so we have to look,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from step one, let's understand your overall strategy, what's working, what's not working. Let's put a new strategy in place. Let's put it into market. You know, the biggest roadblock to us is typically the client's data is not in a great spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right, right. But you really need it's kind of like you're dealing with thousands of small problems where you want to effectively spend a very small budget,
yep.
right? It's not like you said a very sufficient amount and Google is starting to take over. It's like they're very sensitive, if you will, because I used to deal with a lot of those data as well. I know like because small budget in a very small localized area, they could really shifting up a lot. So I can understand where spending budget efficiently could be a very, very challenging but like important task.
Yeah. It's a really big, complicated thing. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think in the last few years, we've been continuing to be successful and recognized for a company that actually gets it, right? We get it. We understand how complicated it
Mm-hmm.
is, but more than anything else, we understand the
Mm-hmm.
importance of it, right? Like that, my message to my
Right,
team
right.
all the time is like, we are working for a small business owner. So like on the other side of that keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
what we do helps save for college, right? Saves for retirement. Like
Mm-hmm.
and part of a leadership or job is to motivate your team. And to me, it's a lot easier to motivate our team because they hear from the franchisees. They talk to them. They see when we're
Mm-hmm.
successful at payoff versus, doing it for Ford or, something like that. Right. So that's
Hmm.
why I still get excited about every new client. And, this past year, I made it a mission to go to as many of our client conferences as I could, meet with the franchisees, talk. And it was great. I mean, it was great just to talk to them and see
Yeah,
like, hey, when somebody comes up and says, hey, what you guys are doing for us is great. We're getting new customers. Business is great. Revenue's up. It's like, um, it's awesome.
that's a good feeling. Yeah, and especially coming from so many small business owners, and and that is, it's not like a big corporate owner. It's like that's their lifeline, for
Exactly.
many of them, and it means a lot to them. And yeah, so Alex, you were learning a little bit about the data, and I love
You
data,
do?
and
I didn't know
and
that
and so
about
I think
you. I
that's
did. That's it. We should dive into that topic a little bit.
yes, yes. So let's spend some time on data. So let's maybe just starting by like, what are some of the metrics CMOs are hugging that are incorrect, that are wrong, that
Mm.
we talk about hug the metrics for this show. Like, what are some of the
Oh boy.
wrong metrics they are hugging?
I don't know if it's necessarily the wrong metrics. I just don't think that I would say 50% of folks just don't have the full picture. So they're not able to really tie the marketing metrics to the revenue, right? And so there's some steps along the
Hmm.
way and you just lose, let's say you're basically a lead generation company and you can call the phone number or you can chat or you can fill out a form, but there's two types of forms, or you can go into an actual office and start the
Hmm.
process there. Like, and all five of those
Hmm.
lead types aren't tracked properly. And at the end of the day, it's the age old thing that maybe will never be solved, right? I know I'm wasting half of my marketing money spend. I'm just not sure which half.
Hmm.
I forget who said that.
Right,
Maybe
right.
was that Ford?
Yeah.
That might have been Ford. It was a second Ford reference. Um,
I don't want to get fact checked, so I'm not gonna
okay. Yeah.
confirm
No,
you.
no
But
live
yes,
fact,
I know what you
no
mean.
live fact checking. Although maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll have
But I
AI in
know
the
what you mean.
background.
So I think sounds like the first point you're saying so far is often lack of full picture, right? And they have multiple touch points, but often these are not talking to each other or not even getting tracked.
It's constrained by kind of the systems that they have. Um,
Right.
and is it a CMO's job or a CTO's job or a CIO's job to fix that? Um, yes, it's all of those. But
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
complicated, and a lot of times, somebody might come on new to a job and they're a CMO and they realize the data is wrong, but they don't necessarily have a strong partnership, and that's a year-long project to clean that up, perhaps, and they need answers now, right? So like, also it
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
John
Hmm.
Wanamaker who made that quote, just so we know,
Okay, that
which
was a
is
quick,
interesting. John
very quick.
Wanamaker, there's a Wanamaker building in Philadelphia that,
Wait, is that really his last name, Wanamaker?
yeah,
Okay.
Wanamaker. Um,
Hmm.
my wife
It's a
Emily
can-do
used to work
person.
in the Wanamaker building in Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, nice. I also think like one thing often gets ignored. It's especially in a service lead based. A conversion could take a long time, right? It might not even be possible to record the whole journey with the system. And I think often a lot of those franchisees just ignore a lot of local signals that you probably could use to help you enhance or optimize your campaign before you get a full picture.
And and if you think about, I mean, you've worked with some very complicated organizations and just like all the data points and how they're feeding and right, like there's so much pressure on performance that, we would love to have test and controls. We would love to have 5% of our budget into trying new things out. And we would love, and it's just, it's tough to like, I don't know, slow down sometimes and say, hey, if we,
Mm,
let's not worry. We have to worry about this month's numbers. That's the other thing, right? It's like this day's numbers, this week's numbers, this month's numbers. It's like, but
mm,
like, what can we do proactively now that's going to help us 2, 3 months from now, right? Like you
right,
have to
yeah.
do it. You have to just, it's a commitment and I don't know what the right word is. it's a mindset. They say, hey, we are gonna take care of today, but we're gonna also plan for tomorrow at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know what you mean. And that's a difficult conversation sometimes, especially with some people who may have bad experiences with marketing. They really are expecting us to fix the world tomorrow, by the
Exactly,
way,
right?
right now. Yeah, and it doesn't really happen like that.
It really doesn't.
Can you talk a little bit, share a little bit about like I think attribution is a big topic. You're always a big
I
fan
love
of.
attribution.
What do you guys do with attribution, and what are your thoughts on? And I can share with some of my new thoughts on this as well.
I wish that I could say that we were the attribution experts and we're killing it for all of our clients. But I give us a B on attribution I'll go back to the last comment we just talked about. Like step number one of getting clean data is the biggest hurdle, right? So like you can't even begin
Hmm.
to have an attribution discussion unless you know from click to revenue. Or, I mean, I guess you can have
Right,
like, hey, the partial attribution. Um, but I would say
right. Like data getting
yeah, we don't do anything more
collected clean.
sophisticated than just like GA4, um, combining that
Hmm.
data with our ad serving data and trying and
Hmm.
smushing that together.
Right.
Um, and at least be able to tell the story of it's not just brand search clicks driving your revenue, right? It's like, oh, look,
Right, right. At least we
right?
can we can get that out of the way.
Right?
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh,
brand search
yes,
works
yes,
great. Get me more brand. But then at the same time, like, well, why are we
yeah,
spending money on this? And we're like, well, because that's how you get brand, right?
exactly.
Brand isn't magic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at least hopefully most of people can get over that hump. That's not a difficult one to
Well, that's
understand
what I think
when being a
yeah, I
closer.
mean, what you've always done and what you're doing now, right, is focusing on the metrics and what metrics matter and how to get to them. Like I see
Hmm.
that as
Hmm.
still huge. I mean, I would imagine that 50% plus of businesses that you talk to need a full overhaul
Hmm.
to get some real traction on that.
Yes, yeah.
And yet,
I totally agree with that. I think I would double down on click. Sorry, I just cut you. I'm gonna trace back. What were we gonna say?
no, and I think be a, I'm a pretty much an eternal optimist, but like the cynic in me says that what the major platforms don't necessarily want you to understand attribution that much, right? Like Meta's going to take credit for
What should
everything
you
that
though?
Meta touches, and Google's going to take credit for everything that Google touches, and they don't, right? And like,
Mm-hmm.
when we first started advertising on Meta, they took credit for everything. If you open up Facebook for a second,
You qualify, yeah.
right? It's like
Yes. Yeah.
you drive by a billboard, a million people drive by the billboard and they say, well, that's a million eyeballs. And I'm like, but
Well,
we
but they
try.
also have the database of the whole world, right? They could literally remarketing. They could the system. I think Alex, you were saying a couple of things, and I want to dive into this one point really quick on the attribution. I think it is a dilemma. I think the Google world and the Meta world, it is making it harder for us to understand. And they also are thinking we should know less and less,
Mm,
right? You think
right.
they are setting and making it less and less like you can manually adjusting, right? So I always question like, should we actually need to, right? Is it a waste of time actually try to understand? Because I feel
Or
like
just get close
we are
enough,
all such
right?
a
Like,
yeah, yeah. And not, but I think what you are saying it's actually more dangerous in the sense that on the what system could do. No, no, what system could do. Because the point I'm trying to say here is that if the attribution is being set as lazy attribution,
mm, yep.
like as you were saying there, like Meta is so good at cheating, and I'm sorry to say this, like,
Right.
and so is Google. They own the whole world population digital signal online, right? So if your goal is to say like, give me retargeting for everyone that works, of course Meta is gonna give you the best performance. Your retargeting is gonna be the best because it's your warmest audience,
Right.
right? As you were saying, like your branding is gonna always be your number one recourse because it's your warmest audience, right? And if you just like padding yourself, how are you gonna grow, right? I mean, the way you grow is you actually have to force the system to go after the cold
Right.
audience, and that's where the scale is actually happening, right? And I think attribution plays a big role in this. Like if you're making your attribution, this is something kind of like my reflection this past year is that if you're making your attribution really lazy, allow them to do like 7-day click and all of this while the branding saturation is very potent across the country for a big brand, for example. That is a bad settings for Meta because
Yes.
now Meta is gonna look great.
Right.
You really need to like force Meta to just work really hard, only goes unknown audience.
Yeah. And it changes so rapidly. I've got two kids that are 15 and 18, and that generation is exclusively on YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat. You have to, one of the things that we're doing is evolving beyond one of your earlier questions with like, Google and Meta, where we're seeing some erosion of that. And for the first time, maybe in a long time. And, as marketers, we have to be investigating and testing out like, okay, if you want to reach somebody between the ages of 18 and 25, you've got no shot unless you're on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube or TikTok, like zero chance, right? But
Yep,
if you figure that out, I mean, there's so many brands that are doing great. I mean, these viral things that happen on TikTok and, these overnight millionaires
mm-hmm.
because they build a product, and that comes down to more content than anything else, right? So the age of content
I think
creation,
it comes down to creative.
creative, exactly. Yep.
I really think it comes down to creative. I really think this is kind of like, I think it's the biggest shift. It's like, back in our days, we have so much power, right? In control, right? Broad, like all this match type, things are really very easy at the time. But now I think it's all like you kind of don't know how they work, but you need to make sure your audience that you want are gonna like the content that you produce and produce more of a content like
Yep.
that so that it'll find the audience for you.
Yep. Yeah. There's definitely job security working in digital marketing. You know,
Don't say that as an owner. Maybe this is a good segue. Maybe let's talk a little bit something that it's more personal and something more within our control. I'm curious about Alex Porter.
uh-oh.
As I said earlier, you've been CEO as long as I know you. You have always been the CEO for the company. What do you see as like kind of like some of the evolvement of your CEO phase? Like how do you make the most impact right now
Hmm.
to scale your company as a CEO?
So I think one of the biggest things that I've done in the last 3 years is really focused on this, it's called EOS. Are you familiar with EOS? EOS is the
No, please.
entrepreneurial operating system. And actually, I just posted an article about it on LinkedIn. It's my first ever
Mhm.
article on LinkedIn. I've never done an article before. It's not getting a lot of views, so
I'm gonna
I think I may have done it wrong. But the EOS operating mile,
we're gonna put a link here to give it a shout out.
yeah, maybe like it,
Yes, so
maybe I need to repost it. I don't know. But it's really simple. There's a great book called Traction. And really, if you follow the book, it is, you have to have your mission and your vision. Everyone has to understand it. You have to have the right people in the right seats. You have to know your ideal customer profile. You have to have your processes
mhm,
followed by all. And it's all things that on paper make a lot of sense, but are hard to do. But my job as the CEO
mhm,
is to really be the visionary of like what's 6 months down the line, what's 12 months down the line. How do we react to the changing landscape in digital marketing? How do we tap into a
mhm,
younger audience? How do we try to do best case attribution? So I spend a lot of time on right people, right seats for the leadership and executive team. I spend a lot of time on
mhm,
doing a lot of, I mean, I probably spend at least 15% of my week on what are people saying about everything, reading stuff, right?
mhm,
Ingesting information, talking with other leaders in the space.
mhm,
What are they seeing? What are they doing? Trying to get the most out of our Copilot pro. So we use Copilot as our internal AI tool, and it's amazing. I mean, I'm
okay.
building my own agents to do stuff. I'm, trying to not be the dinosaur here.
Mhm,
But for me, what does it mean to be a CEO? It really is to be that visionary of where are we going and working, on the
mhm.
business, not in the business.
I love that. So I know when I was working at Location 3, and every year you would ask all the directors. Actually, eventually you're asking everyone to make a prediction of what's gonna happen that year.
Yep.
So I love to play this game here actually. So Could you make a prediction on like what do you see is going to happen the rest of 25 for the franchise space?
For the rest of this year, I think the biggest thing, if we want to talk politics, is um, where do we where do we net out in this joint employer legislation? So, right, so joint employer basically means that a franchisee is not owned by the franchisor. They are not the employee. And we talked about that earlier, right? Like this is, so
Hmm.
that is kind of on the political docket right now. I go to DC every September as part of the IFA to lobby on behalf of the franchising world. I'm actually going to be meeting up with an event in Denver with Hickenlooper to try to convince him. And it's a weird position because it's not really a Democratic or a Republican issue. It's very a business issue, and a lot of and kind of Democrats by the party line are like pro union and pro employee, where Republicans are more pro business. But in this case, with a franchise, it's a small business, so it's kind of both, right? And a lot of people that we talk to just don't really understand it. So the prediction is hopefully that joint employer, um, you know, is something that is kind of settled somewhat permanently, and that we don't. It's been on the back of everyone's mind, and is it a state issue? Is it a federal issue? Right? Like California has gone kind of the other way and have made it really bad for franchising. So that I would say is one thing. Number two is that TikTok doesn't go away. TikTok definitely stays around in 2025 and beyond. And my other big prediction is, I think that's it. Those are my two big predictions. So
Okay, so you're
joint
saying,
employer gets settled
okay.
in favor of the
Can
franchising
you
business
maybe
model.
I forgive me if I don't understand this. So like, why does it matter? Like, why does like explain to like other
Right. So,
system? Like, why does it matter?
so basically, if joint employer like gets enforced, it means that the franchisor employs the franchisee, right? Which means that the franchisee doesn't own their business, right? Which means that they don't grow equity. They can't
Mm,
sell the business. Now said
mm,
another
mm,
way, they say, well, that means that, McDonald's corporate actually employs the front desk worker at McDonald's and needs to give them benefits and healthcare. And so it's hard to look at it and say, oh, this is a bad thing because it is it
gotcha.
is saying, hey, the employees need to have better care and better rights, but it's forcing the issue, and um it's complicated. It's a complicated thing. Um but fr-
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
but from my purview, and maybe I'm looking at it from my personal gains, that franchising is a good thing, but I've seen it firsthand from speaking with so many franchisees, that the franchising business model is beneficial to the US economy and to all the people that they employ. I mean, I think it's close to 800,000 franchisee units in the United States right now, employing, I mean, everything from a Marriott to the donut shop, right? It's part of the fabric
Hmm.
of the U.S. economy, and um,
Yeah. And if you look around, I mean, like it's everywhere, even in local service, a lot of service that
exactly.
we
And
involved.
you would like to think that there is a bipartisan compromise that could be had here, but our political environment is such that it's just, I don't know. We don't want to go down that road, but it's like,
Right. This is not a political show, guys.
nah, no.
But that's really cool. That's really cool. So TikTok's gonna stay some resolution in this political situation between the Z and Zors. You think it's gonna get settled the rest of the year and it's going to be a big factor?
Yes, I think so. I think our job in DC in September is to go and speak to our representatives and convince them that the franchise model should be solidified. So hopefully that's what happens.
That's awesome. Sweet. With that, I'm gonna actually getting close to close the
Well, hold
show.
on.
Any last
Yeah,
word, Alex, for
you
the
have to give one prediction.
me?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this. I didn't
Well, I
know.
didn't think
Oh,
about it. I
wow.
didn't come up with mine on the
Um,
fly.
all right. Well, I think that like a lot of the traditional ways we know of getting leads in franchise space are all going to really change. Like in a way that there's going to be uh, newer channels that are much more. How do you say? Like I think there will be more power. Maybe let me put it this way. I think smaller business will have more power by way more power by the end of the year. And this is going to be a progression over the years as we get into more this AI stage. I think in the past, you need a very big company, big resource to make big impact. But I think smaller business now will have more tools and they can make bigger impact individually because of those resources are becoming available to
I
them.
like that.
That's my
I like
prediction. And
it.
I think, and a lot of like, it comes down to like, even as creation, like we all see how much easier it is to do certain things where you used to need a lot of stakeholders involved, right?
Yeah.
And decision is gonna get made much quicker instead of rely on a big body of people buy in, right? So I think we're gonna see a little bit tilt on this sort
Mm,
of capacity, like because a big corporate might be slowed down by slow in
right.
decision, might not be as efficient as someone who is small but can
Hmm.
make quick decision that is timely in
And
2025.
and AI is the game changer in all of it, right? Like power to the people that harness that. I mean, you could get it's incredible.
Like
I mean, it's
run.
absolutely incredible.
Like I think AI is like so fast change. Like everyone should run. Like looking at the
Oh
technology,
my
right?
gosh, yeah.
Just think about you're not just gonna be like window shopping, look around and wait at what happens. Like there are things that need to be tested out yesterday already, right?
Right.
And that's how
I've
much
I,
fast change
I've
it is. And
yeah. I mean, like I say this to my team, I'm like, I feel like the world is passing me by and I'm trying to like do everything in my power to like be smart about it. And it's just, it's more than any time in my digital marketing career, I feel like this FOMO of like somebody else is doing it better. And I don't like that feeling,
mm.
you know?
No, same.
Well, this has been
But
great.
hopefully, uh, yeah, you like
Yeah,
it?
this was
You
awesome.
enjoy
Great
it?
conversation. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, and I really think that the listeners can really enjoy what we share today. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Awesome. Have we stopped recording?
I know. Let's just say like, all
Okay,
right, we're gonna end this here. Thanks everybody. I'm gonna end the recording here.
great.